guys, welcome back to the ALGS channel. Hope you guys are all doing well and having a great day so far. Lots to dive into and discuss in today's video. As a matter of fact, I've already recorded it, but unfortunately it turns out my mic was buzzing the whole time, so I had to re-record it. But we've got confirmation now as to what in the world is going on with this FURIA roster. Now, of course, we did have the speculation yesterday. FURIA did drop their roster. A lot of people were basically saying that it might be XYZ team. Maybe this roster goes there, that roster goes there. But now we know for sure as to what roster FURIA is going to be rocking in ALGS year 4, or at least partial of the roster, and then the rumors come in after as to who the new third might be, and we are pretty sure we know who it is as well. Also got to make mention of the League of Legends roster, former FaZe, what's going on with them, and we've also got to make mention as to what's going on with the GKS roster as well that qualified for Pro League by way of PSQ2. A lot to discuss in today's video, so like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date all things Apex Legends news related. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into what's going on in the scene today. First thing I want to make mention of was the FURIA roster drama as well. Of course, this started off yesterday when FURIA announced that they would be parting ways with Albreleli, Zera, and Panders. A lot of people were a little upset because this roster didn't even get a chance to play Pro League. They played with each other inside of LCQ, got third place, I believe, didn't quite make champs with that, and basically ever since then they signed their new coach PvP, now known as JMO, and so they go into this state where they're trying to get better, they're trying to improve, they're trying to have good scrims, and unfortunately things just don't seem to go well for them any longer. And so they decide, before they go into Pro League, they decided to go ahead and nuke the roster and decide to go with someone else, and now we know who this might be. So it started off with Zach Mazer. He goes on stream to say that he is pretty sure, and it's all but confirmed, that Keon and Madness are going to FURIA, and HisWattson is coming out of retirement to play with this roster as well. He collectively says that all of E8 and basically their players agree that this is an L move, that it is a bad move, and that they should not have dropped Vaxlon for this. Vaxlon obviously has posted yesterday that he was looking for a team into ALGS year 4. FURIA has already been teasing that they have some roster announcement juice that they can't wait to spread around as well, and that they're not leaving Apex. And of course, no one really expected them to leave Apex because they are one of the 12 partnered organizations. However, this is where the roster confirmation comes through. Shout out to Battle5 for leaking things before they're supposed to be leaked. And this is where you get the news that FURIA, down here you can see, is now known as FURIA, formerly Already There. So we know that FURIA is going to be signing the Already There roster, and the Grumps are also formerly FURIA. So of course they're still got their Pro League spot, but they're now known as the Grumps. So that's going to be Zera and Panders as they look for their new third player as well. Hopefully, I feel bad for those guys. All things considered, they're still great players. I feel like they're an underdog at this point, and I would like to see them do pretty good moving into the rest of the stage, or the stage of Pro League as well. But I think that FURIA is an interesting one because although we know it's already there, Vaxlon has announced that he's LFT, so this means it's definitely Madness and Keon. But who in the world is that third? Now, whenever we posted this yesterday, we kind of talked about how it could be Snipe Down, how it could be it could be Naughty, it could be HisWattson maybe, but of course no one really expected HisWattson because Snipe Down, although we did know that he got a Pro League offer, so it made a little bit of sense, right? Maybe Snipe Down comes, but it doesn't make sense, right? Because at the same time, Vaxlon is the guy who's mouse and keyboard. Why would you replace that with a controller player who might change the pacing and might not keep up at the same pace? So it just might be a little weird. Naughty's the same scenario. There's only one player that makes sense, I got to be honest, and it is HisWattson. Now, we have heard through sources. Esports.gg has a source, myself has a source as well, that told us earlier today HisWattson, yes, is returning out of retirement to play with the FURIA roster, and he will be their third going into ALGS year 4. So it should be Madness, should be Keon, and it should be HisWattson as well. And I know a lot of people got an opinion on this, of course. We've also talked about Vaxlon. Zach Mazer also goes in his video and his little Twitch clip to say that Vaxlon was the one clutching up most of the time. He was arguably one of the better players on that roster and one of the more clutch factors and X factors for that roster to be so good and consistent that they were basically making a mistake by dropping Vax for HisWattson. And no offense to HisWattson, but basically he's just saying that Vax is what made that roster work, and we can't be sure that HisWattson's going to be that puzzle piece to keep this roster going in that right direction. But I want to offer from the other side as well. Although I understand and I agree that Vaxlon is insane and a great player and probably one of the factors and key successes to this roster, HisWattson and Keon have an immeasurable amount of chemistry as well, from ranked grinding and playing together for quite some time, and even old teams back in the day. These guys are are not necessarily just two random players or just, hey, we'll take your content creator so that we can come to FURIA and sign. These guys are obviously really good partners, and they've played well together. They've been number 1, 2, and 3 pred together. These guys are no joke, and they have chemistry, and HisWattson has proved himself to be really good at the top level. So I don't think that it should be overlooked to say that this is like just a really horrible decision. For sure it might be, but HisWattson, in my opinion, of all the people out there, I think HisWattson is probably the better decision over some of these other players as well. Not necessarily for the sake of skill, I think all of them are skilled, but I think he's a better puzzle piece fit for this roster going forward. So interesting to see, obviously, how this will move on. Also wanted to mention, going into the former FaZe roster, League of Legends. Now, of course, this is a weird one. LG has announced their departure from their roster, the LG Shivas. Then also you've got FURIA in their scenario, but now we know that FURIA is going with already there and not the phony Frex Zainu roster. So that leaves only a couple teams. And how in the world do you have a team that is competing and playing and performing this well and consistent as phony Frex and Zainu, and they're still not getting signed? And a lot of people were wondering, well, maybe we know where phony and Frex are going because all these other rosters are dropping their teams. Surely they go with a good team that's been playing good in scrims. And they are not actually. Their coach actually posted on Twitter yesterday that despite getting second in once again another scrim result, they are still looking for an organization just a little over a month until Pro League starts. This is their coach, Dan. And I'm just shocked by this, honestly. I couldn't believe it because I feel like these guys have done more than enough to prove themselves. They have absolutely exceeded expectations. Zainu has won a LAN last year. Phony and Frex have done really good at LAN last year, I think with a top 5 finish as well. These guys are also doing good in scrim sets. I just don't understand how not even one of the top 12 partnered organizations don't reach out, but even one of the tier 2 organizations don't reach out, or maybe even a tier 1 organization that's not a partnered organization like Sentinels or whatever the case may be. Somebody has got to give this team the time of day because I feel like they are just too good and so much talent on here to not be signed to an organization just seems crazy. Also got to mention a little bit of, people are talking about the plot thickening with the LG roster, right? Because also you're looking at the Sentinels team, you're looking at LG, you're looking at FURIA, and you're thinking, where does the LG Shivas go, now known as Teximus or whatever? Where do they go? Where are they going to go? Because they're also another top 5-ish, top 10-ish team out their roster. Got the CEO Imperial Hal's approval as well. Surely one of these organizations reach out to them. This is when Pastillo had posted on Twitter, the plot thickens. The things I'm finding out today, this happens when you rush things out without a plan, and everybody freaked out. What in the world is going on with the LG Chivas roster? Is something bad going on behind closed doors? He also posted shortly after, okay, for everyone that is asking, this is not about the LG decision itself. So it kind of puts to ease for some people, but of course we're still interested to see what's going on with the former LG roster, and if they can find them their way back into a good organization as well, because they definitely deserve it. Really good players all around. Also, lastly, just so we wrap the video up, want to make mention with the GKS drama going on. Of course, if you guys are not aware, by way of PSQ, this team did qualify for the Pro League right here in PSQ number 2. This is GKS. This roster consists of chaoticmuch, sauceror, and sleepypanda. Now, it is rumored that Stay Naughty is looking to enter into this roster, and basically they are trying to part ways with sleepypanda. Once this news came out, people basically, showed them the rule book that you cannot leave sleepypanda. He has to be on the roster in order to stay in Pro League. Then whenever this happened, they were trying to basically compensate him or buy him out or get him a contract or whatever the case may be so that he would stay and they keep the Pro League spot. A lot of other pros are pressuring him like, look, just leave the team. Screw those guys. They wanted to screw you over. You need to screw them over back. And according to the word on the street, I don't really know what happened. I just saw that Colgan had posted people buying Pro League spots is crazy. Someone asked him to, competitive Apex asked him to leak it. And then, he, Colgan said, doesn't take a genius to figure this one out. It's not about the FURIA roster. So it only makes sense to be about the GKS roster because that's the drama that's been going on. Jevy Media retweets this with another rule that was found in the rule book saying that it is wild for you to openly state that you have compensated this player for, fairly on the situation. The rule book says here that it is prohibited to be accepting or giving gifts, bribes, rewards, or compensation for services in connection with competing in the ALGS. This is with an exception for competitors with sponsors who pay them based on performance. So, if Monster Energy says, hey, if you place top 5, we'll give you this, that's fine. But you can't say, hey, we're going to give you $3,000 a month for this contract if you decide to stay with us with that stipulation. If he decides, it's one thing if you're a player, you're going to play whatever, boom, there you go. But hey, we'll give you $10,000 up front if you decide to not leave for the pro. Now, who knows what's really going on? This is all just hearsay, of course. I'm just saying this is the word on the street. This is what people are talking about. Now, this would be technically another rule break, I guess, or bending around the rules. But once again, it's all rumor, and who really knows what the truth is behind closed doors, and who knows what's going on. Interesting stuff to see. At the end of the day, man, I don't want none of this stuff to happen. I don't want GKS to lose their spot. I don't want sleepypanda to be off the team. I just want the guys that qualified, that made it, that put their blood, sweat, and tears and hard work into it, to just play in the pro league together, honestly. But interested to see what you say down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until the next time, we'll see you all later, Gators.